This is Heart of Illinois ABC News at 10. Local, social.
You are looking live at the United States Capitol, back to business after violent protesters stormed the building this afternoon. Right now, on the left side of your screen, the House voting to reject a challenge to Arizona's electoral votes. It's not over yet, but despite a majority of Republicans voting to sustain that objection, it's going to lose by more than 100 votes. Less than an hour ago, the Senate voted to reject that same challenge 93-6. Thank you for joining us on this momentous Wednesday night. I'm Bobby Oler. Janice has the night off. Lawmakers reconvening around 7 o'clock tonight. Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell calling the crowd unhinged on the floor of the House. More now from ABC's Andrew Dimbert in Washington.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
And remember, a group of Heart of Illinoisans was there, and they're making their way back to normal after marching on the Capitol today. They left yesterday afternoon to join that rally. Organizer David Paul Blumenshine says they believe it was a successful demonstration. He says there was no rioting or violence where they were. In response to the breach of the Capitol today, he says nobody condones violence and says he did not see anything himself.
A lifetime experience.
He says the bus should pull back home around 9 a.m. tomorrow. Illinois Representative Adam Kinzinger, though, on Twitter this afternoon, calling the events dumb and pointless. He spoke with ABC News during their live coverage today.
And
Representative Darren LaHood also tweeting, "I have always fought for the right to peacefully protest, but there's a stark difference between protests and rioting. Lawlessness is never an acceptable answer. This must now end." He went on to thank law enforcement for working to get control of the situation. Congressman Rodney Davis saying in part, quote, "The rioting and violence brought back painful memories of the congressional baseball shooting a few years ago." He also said political violence must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And on the Senate floor tonight, Illinois Senator Dick Durbin taking a stand.
By thugs who roam the halls.
There was a miniature, peaceful version of this protest taking place in Springfield today. People say it was not about the president. They say they want fair elections, even though there's no proof of election fraud from November, and dozens of judges have dismissed claims to the contrary. Some people brought "Stop the Steal" signs, others held Trump flags and "Fire Pritzker" signs. A few of the supporters watching a live feed of the Washington, D.C. protests. We asked one of the rally organizers if she supported the violence that was happening in D.C.
Wasn't there.
She asked us not to use her real name. She claims people have been threatening her as she's organized rallies. Chief Meteorologist Brian Walder, another foggy day up there.
That's right, we know the drill.
We certainly hope there are. Thank you, Brian. Now to the political drama that we're accustomed to from Washington. A pair of surprise wins for Democrats in the Senate. The Associated Press today projecting a win for Democrat Jon Ossoff in his Georgia Senate runoff against Republican incumbent David Perdue. And early this morning, ABC News projecting that Democrat Raphael Warnock won his race over incumbent and McLean County native Kelly Loeffler. The senior pastor of one of the country's most historic black churches, now on path to become Georgia's first black senator, speaking on Good Morning America today.
In order to do the hard work.
Democrats appear to be winning both seats, which would mean that they would be tied with Republicans at 50 seats apiece, and Democratic Vice President-elect Kamala Harris would break that tie, giving Democrats the majority in the House and the Senate, which could mean that President-elect Joe Biden would have an easier time getting his agenda passed through Congress. And Judge Merrick Garland appears to be the president-elect's pick for Attorney General. ABC News reports that this formal announcement could come as soon as tomorrow. Judge Garland is currently sitting on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. President Barack Obama nominated him to the Supreme Court in 2016 after Justice Antonin Scalia died. But Republican lawmakers in the Senate refused to hold confirmation hearings, and when Trump took office, Garland's nomination expired. He has been considered a top contender for this position for weeks. It's been a tough week for the Brimfield community as it mourns the loss of a prominent figure in their town. Fire Chief Bob Forney died at the age of 58 because of complications from COVID-19. Holden Kruzmark has the story.
Holden Kruzmark, Heart of Illinois, ABC.
Thank you, Holden. A Wisconsin man is facing charges for ruining hundreds of COVID vaccines. After the break, the security in place to keep that from happening in the heart of Illinois. Brian, it really seems like Mother Nature's got Spotify open and she's hit that repeat button on a song I'm just not sure I can get into.
Yeah, it's not my favorite song, but that's the situation that we're in right now, is kind of stuck. We're going to try and make it $400 tomorrow.
Thank you, Brian. I want to slip in this quick breaking news alert we're getting from Washington, D.C. The Capitol Police say 3 medical emergencies led to deaths during the protest today. That brings the death count to 4, including that one woman who was shot and killed. Now to the pandemic. Our local hospitals say they're making sure no vaccines are vandalized like we saw in Wisconsin. Both OSF Healthcare and Unity Point Health say there are frequent checks of the vaccines to make sure they're all safe and accounted for. OSF has a small number of staff that has access to that vaccine to prevent tampering. VP of Pharmacy Operations Sandy Salverson says their detailed plans make sure the vaccine stays safe.
Community expectation.
Unity Point Health says the chance of someone spoiling hundreds of doses like we saw in Wisconsin is not likely here because no staff member is ever left alone with the vaccine.
Diminished.
She says hearing the news of that spoiling in Wisconsin was hard because she expects that all pharmacists would have the population's best interest at heart when handling their inventory. Both facilities in the heart of Illinois say repercussions of tampering with any vaccine would mean you could lose your license. Details tonight are limited about Peoria's first homicide of 2021. A news release from Peoria police say they responded around 9:30 this morning to a home in the 500 block of East High Point Place because of reports of a man down. Officers found an adult man with, quote, obvious trauma to his body. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say there's no suspect information tonight, but they're asking anyone with any camera footage or any tips to get in touch with them or Crime Stoppers. Wondering where your stimulus check is? We'll tell you the step you will need to take if you don't see it by next week. Next. A second round of stimulus payments are on the way. So when will eligible people and families get the money that they're waiting for? Mandy Gaither has the story.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Car buying in the U.S. is revving up again. That's according to General Motors. They released their fourth quarter sales for 2020 this week. GM is the country's largest automaker, so typically other automakers follow the same trends as they do. This comes as buyers deserted showrooms at the beginning of the pandemic in the spring. But GM says its consumer sales have now returned to pre-pandemic levels. The pace of the recovery is surprising for some experts. They did not forecast such a quick comeback. After a grueling game against Purdue, the Illini are ready to take on Northwestern tomorrow. Up next in sports, Coach Underwood's thoughts about facing the in-state rival. Stay with us.
A little bit of light snow by the end of next week.
This is a live look at where the protesters and police were clashing earlier today. You can see a much quieter scene right now inside the Capitol building. They are about to resume certifying the Electoral College votes. Arizona's challenge was thrown out. Those ballots will be counted. Moves to Arkansas now, then to California after that. We don't know if there are going to be any more objections tonight. Good Morning Illinois will have the latest on this tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.